marriages in the world are between first cousins. Welcome to Riff. The founders of Hewlett-Packard flipped a coin to decide which of them would come first in the company name. The facial expressions on Lego figures have become increasingly more angry over the last 30 years. A quarter of philosophers believe in zombies. Alligators balance twigs on their noses to lure birds looking for nest building materials. 1 in 3 children today can use a tablet before they can speak. Wine can be artificially aged by passing it through an electric field for 3 minutes. John Lennon and George Harrison once got a bus across Liverpool to visit a man who could teach them the code B7. Toshers was a name for men who earned a living by searching London sewers for lost valuables. An elephant's call can be heard anywhere within 100 square miles. By 2050, 70% of people will live in cities. The pinstripe on a Rolls-Royce is hand painted with no margin for error, as the paint has special properties which make it instantly bond to the underlying car paint. The job is reserved for one man only, Mark Court. His sole job is to paint that pinstripe on every new Rolls-Royce. One out it instantly bond to the underlying car paint. The job is reserved for one man only, Mark Court.
Imagine the richest, tastiest dessert you've ever.
His sole job is to paint that pinstripe on every new Rolls-Royce. 1 out of 10 passwords used on the internet are either password 123456 or 12345678. A newborn baby sucks in air with 50 times the power of an adult. People eating in a group of 7 or more eat twice as much as people eating alone. It takes 700 grapes to make 1 bottle of wine. Thanks for the view, subscribe for more. 42. Hey, 42 here. The world is pretty big and incredibly diverse. So whenever you're somewhere and you think it can't get much hotter or wetter or higher than this, it probably can. So where are the undisputed champions? Where are the most extreme places on Earth? First, let's look at the world's hottest place. Temperatures taken with thermometers on weather stations would have you believe that El Azizia in Libya, with its highest recorded temperature of 58 degrees C, or Death Valley in California with its record high reading of 56.7 degrees C are the hottest places on Earth. But according to new satellite imagery data, they're not even serious contenders. There is a salt desert in the east of Iran that's about 480 kilometers wide and 320 wide, called Dasht-e-Lut, which, as of recently, is officially the hottest place on Earth. The surface of the sand here reaches a scorching 70.7 Celsius. That's almost double the temperature of your body. So I guess that begs the question, who is the poor scientist who had to sit out here with a thermometer and take a reading every day? I hope they had a fridge at least. Well, we know scientists can do some pretty crazy things sometimes, but no one is that crazy. The data actually comes from a NASA satellite called Aqua that monitors, among other things, the heat radiation of the Earth's surface. From 2003 to 2010, the satellite would image the entire planet every 1 to 2 days, giving us data on temperatures, clouds, winds and much more. The local name for the desert is Gandom Buryan, which means roasted grain. The story is that travelling farmers spilt their seeds on the sand, and within just a few days it was scorched and ruined by heat before it could be collected. Not that you get a lot of people travelling through, it's certainly no picnic out there, but people do come to see the beautiful otherworldly sandcastles in the western corner of the desert. The erosion has carved teetering towers that make it seem like some lost ancient city. Right, so if that got you feeling a little hot under the collar, let's all cool off by heading in the opposite direction, the coldest place on Earth. The lowest recorded temperature is -89.2 degrees Celsius, taken in 1983 at the Soviet Vostok station, but the station was just there to make these measurements, so, you know, the scientists were being paid to be there in cold, hard cash. Very cold, hard cash. But imagine if your whole town chose to live like this. Oymyakon is the oldest permanent settlement on Earth, with some 500 people living in freezing temperatures up in the northeastern tip of Russia. In winter, it has got as low as -67.7 degrees, and typically averages -45 Celsius in December and January. The craziest thing is that, unlike Antarctica, where you're lucky if you ever get above -30 Celsius, even in summer, Oymyakon has hit plus 34.6 degrees Celsius in July and normally averages around 20 C for the summer months. Imagine trying to buy a yearly wardrobe that covered a difference of 100 Celsius. Enough about temperature, we're moving on to new heights, or just really high heights. So, what is the world's highest point? Now this seems like quite an obvious one, right? The highest point must be the highest mountain, which is, yep, that's right, Mount Everest in the Himalayas. But when we say the highest mountain, what do we really mean? Well, we mean that Everest peak is 8,848 meters above sea level, and no other mountain can match that. But if you measure from the base to the peak, which is quite hard to do because there isn't some nice red line that says the mountain starts here, then actually the tallest mountain is Mount Mauna Kea at a massive 10,203 meters, but it's deep in the Pacific Ocean. The first 6,000 meters of Mauna Kea are underwater, so it doesn't really help us to find the world's highest point. Let me introduce Chimborazo. Okay, I know it's only 6,267 meters above sea level, but here's the twist. Its peak is the furthest away from the center of the Earth of any mountain. You know that globe you had in geography class that was a perfect sphere? Well, the Earth isn't actually like that. It bulges around the equator, so the land and the sea level are actually a few kilometers higher at these points than anywhere else. Since Chimborazo is in Ecuador, named for being right on the equator, it gets this little boost from the Earth's bulge. So it's actually 6,384.4 kilometers from the center of the Earth, which beats Everest. It's 6,382.3 kilometers from the Earth's center. In your face, Everest, you midget. So that's the highest point. But what about the lowest? The lowest place on the Earth's surface is the Dead Sea. It's not really a sea, it's more a really salty lake. 50 kilometers long and 15 wide, and it lies almost half a kilometer below sea level. 429 meters to be exact. It gets its name from the almost total lack of aquatic life there. You're more likely to find chips in it than fish. Its salt quantity is so high that swimmers just float on the surface like a human inflatable. But if we don't stick to the Earth's surface, we can find places much deeper. In the Pacific Ocean, just south of Japan, there is Mariana's Trench, and its lowest point is called Challenger Deep, and bottoms out at 10,916 meters below sea level. Here the pressure reaches over